Tell me something you think is true that almost nobody agrees with you on.
Ooh. That is so good.
In today's episode of the podcast, I have a very special guest. She's one of the reasons why I started Uncomfortably Honest podcast in the first place. Her name is Talitha, and she is a world traveler and a vocal artist. And what I love so much about her work is how she combines her own voice with the sounds of nature. In our conversation today, we talked a lot about how she managed to travel the world and still make money on the road. And also, we went deep into the feminine health and how the vocal cord is connected to the womb space and how much it affects the whole body if we are not comfortable in using our own voice.
Perfect. Perfect. Oh my God, I think it's been like a year.
No, that's just not okay.
I know. Time goes really quickly.
That is just, are you really?
I've been out of Denmark for a year, and I don't think we've talked since I left Denmark. By the way, I love your whole background. This is such a great aesthetic.
I know.
Also, you're matching with the colors. It's really like,
I know.
very professional.
Thank you. Thank you, darling. Well, the neighbors gave me this one. It's a special, curly kind of wooden stick. And then I was really bored one day. I made this.
Oh, you made it.
I made it.
I love it. It looks like a really great decor piece.
I'm so fashionable these days.
You really are. I'm really loving this whole presentation.
I think you would love the rest of the room as well. And because we've been living in the van for 4 years now, and I just needed like a room, like my room. So it's just full of colors. It's pink. There's a lot of, weird witchy stuff in here. Goddess cards, everything. And Jens is not allowed in here.
I love it. That's good. But I can imagine after being 4 years in a van, sharing every space, literally, that is a requirement to now make up for it. Have your own space entirely.
It's crazy. It's so big here. It's so big. Like this place is so. You know that we moved into a farm, right?
Yeah, I was just gonna say you bought a farmhouse in Denmark.
Yeah,
but is it on Sjælland or is it
Fyn?
Okay,
yeah. So we have 1.4 hectares. I don't know if that makes any sense to you.
It does.
Three football fields, and since we have 12 chickens and 2 pigs and a dog.
That is amazing.
I know, it's just crazy. It just went from very tiny to big.
But I love that transition. I feel like there's something really almost natural in it to live really, really nomadically, just from your van, super minimalistic, no possessions, nothing to tie you down. And then suddenly it's like you've integrated what that experience is, and you're just settling down, stewarding land and taking care of animals, and just I think that's such an amazing transition.
Absolutely, it is really. It's everything actually we learned on the road from the people we stayed with and who we got inspired with, and now we want to make this what do you say? Anyways, some words in English are still very hard for me, but we want to make this beautiful retreat place where we grow our own
like a center.
Yeah, and we have a beautiful yoga barn we're gonna build, and it's just nice. And the neighbors are nice, which is because I was so afraid, because this is in the Pampas, this is it's just one street and the forest is over there and there's another forest over here, and that's it. And then I was like, oh my God, they are all going to be over 60 and grumpy, because Danish people, right? They do, especially out in the small towns. But then this is just a town. There's a gay couple over there, there's a gay couple over here, there's a bunch of people living in a house together over there, and it's just we just been all gathering for a Christmas little party yesterday, and it's just so weird. They're so nice, and they just all having the same dreams. They want to be self-sustainable and blah blah blah. So it's just, I don't know, fantastic.
That's so amazing. How long have you been there?
Since August.
Okay. Oh, so it's still new. It's not. Why did I feel like it was? I feel like it was a while ago that I saw your post, but I guess time is like a weird thing now. I feel like it was ages ago that I saw your post, but I guess it wasn't.
No,
Just that you had
no,
moved.
it's just 18th of August we took over the place. And but it was so random, and it was not meant to be, we were still in Portugal, we came home for a wedding, then we saw this house, and Jens was like, oh yeah, and then we put a bid on it, and then we won, and then suddenly, bam, you have a house. A farm.
So you had never bought property in Portugal. It was just an idea.
It was an idea, and the thing, so we almost lived like for 1 year in Portugal, I think, and we saw all the seasons, and it's so dry there. Like, you think it's beautiful nature, but it's actually just overgrown with eucalyptus, and the prices of the housing there is just ridiculous. You literally just get a ruin for the same money you can get a house here in Denmark, where you actually have a toilet and a shower already. So it was just, in the end, it was just, I don't know. It's a beautiful country, and the people are amazing, and the sun is shining at least a little bit more than here in Denmark. But in the end, it was just like, I wanted nature, you know what I wanted, like proper nature, real trees, and the seasons as well. Yeah, it's already dark outside. It's snowing outside and all that stuff.
Those are the seasons. Fully immersive season.
Absolutely. So yeah, I know, I almost feel like I'm getting interviewed.
This is my pre-interview.
That is also what I wanted today, actually. I wanted to, because you're my first guest on the Uncomfortably Honest podcast we talked about 2 years ago in the summer house.
Like, can we just take a moment, like, of acknowledgement that you fully like manifested and created this and are doing it now? I think that's awesome. How many people talk about things like that, right? I just think,
yeah,
everything. It's all come together.
It's all come together. And then, funny enough, Jens mentioned it, because my memory is a little bit like a Gouda cheese with holes in it. It's like, what? Who? And he said, like, yeah, you had this deep, really dirty conversation with Talitha in the summer house about your vaginas and the Uncomfortably Honest podcast. And I was like, oh yeah, that's true. Like, you have to be the first guest on my podcast.
Yes,
and here you are.
I love it.
And I think
Happy to be here.
I don't even think I want to delete all what we just talked about. I think we're just going into it, because I always also wanted this to be a podcast where we just have a conversation about like everything that's going on in our lives. But also, I always found you quite fascinating, because I don't know, I think maybe also because we had so many weirdo moments together. Like, a lot. Just the way we met on our Yaska retreat, and that one day with the goat, or was it a sheep? I don't know.
She was a sheep.
That whole thing, we don't want to go into details there. And then the summer house, and yeah, and I felt like always there was a connection between us, because we have such a bad humor, you and me. No, it's not bad, but it's good, but it's bad. It's so dark.
But you definitely, like, I feel like we definitely bring it out of one another, right? Because that's not always where my humor goes, depending on who I'm with.
You definitely bring it out of me. I don't know. That's something about your whole, because you have this sweetness over you, and then there's this, you open up that door to, I don't know, complete weirdness, and I love it. And that's why I love you, and that's why I wanted you on.
You know what I think it is? I know you're a Sagittarius and I'm an Aries,
Yeah.
right? Two fire signs. And I know I've always had this. Every time I meet a Sagittarius, I always know they're Sagittarius. It's like one of my favorite signs, if not my favorite, because it's just, as an Aries, it's so fun. It's so lighthearted. It doesn't take anything seriously, right? And like both are fire signs. And I feel like whenever I'm in a space with someone who's a Sag, there's like this instant little spark of like mischief that happens between those two energies where like you just give permission to kind of play and not be so serious. And because I can get quite serious depending on like who I'm with and the energy, but I really like flourish in these spaces of just like playing and maybe like being a little mischievous, maybe making a little trouble, like pushing some boundaries a little bit. And I feel like that's like a really classic energy that both Sag and Aries have. Is like it's this fiery kind of feisty, playful energy.
And honest. And honest as well.
Honest.
There's something honest about it, because I really love my own star sign as well. I met this woman in Portugal, and she was a Sagittarius too, and we were just like, oh my God, it's so fabulous and fun. Oh, it's so fun.
I know. And not taking offense, right?
Yeah.
So like the honesty plus being able to be honest without crossing boundaries or taking things personally. It's so relaxing and so freeing, I feel like, to know that there's not like these areas of like sensitivity or whatever it is. It's so great.
Exactly. I feel like the same with you. I can never really get you out of it. You just, even no matter what I'm saying, even when we had all the vagina talks, it's like you just yeah. It's itchy too sometimes. Give me some steaming of the vagina, and then I don't even remember our conversation, but it's just like I don't know. That's why I also wanted you here, because you make me relaxed, because I can just be who I am around you, like the honest Nikki. That's actually the weirdo Nikki in me, because I have this also very nice persona, but I'm not. Oh, I am, but what I mean.
This is my favorite version of you. I love this version. It's fun. You know what I mean? We need more fun. We need more playfulness, like especially within spiritual, conscious conversations. Like we just need more of this playfulness. I feel like you really bring out my inner child, like really, truly. It's awesome.
Me too. You too. But it's because always that story of you and the sheep and you laying in the grass with it and having a time, and it's just, and then the conversation afterwards with Petra and everything. It just, anyways, I think I need more context around this if the listener knows what this is about. But anyways,
it was an intense emotional bonding experience.
It was,
for sure.
Oh, with the sheep or with the each other? It was the whole experience.
The sheep was a part of it.
It was a big, and that's why I'm saying to Jens, I want a goat. You know what I mean?
Yeah, totally.
And I would just, and he's like, no. And then I saw on we have some of the pages here where you when you can buy like secondhand stuff or whatever. It's like, and then you can buy the secondhand.
Are you gonna buy a secondhand goat?
And his name was Tofu, and he was little and black, and he had, he just had the look. He was just stone-faced, and I was like, yeah, exactly that one. He was just like, oh my fucking God. And then I said I'm not allowed to have a goat, because we have like a hatched roof, I think it's called. It's made out.
Yeah, thatch roof.
Thatch, not a hatch, thatch, whatever. And
thatch, TH,
thatch. And goats love that stuff.
Goats eat goats do eat literally everything.
Yeah.
And you'd have to like create like a space for it to be, with like fences and
goat space, like the pigs.
A goat space. But goats they're really fun. They're very they're also like, they really like people, they're very interactive and engaged with people. They're quite fun to be around. I mean, if you have them from a young age and they're used to people, they're a lot of fun.
They are actually. What? But what? They eat everything.
Oh, but they eat everything.
But
The question is, how much do you value your thatched roof?
a lot. It's quite
A lot.
expensive, that shit. Yeah.
I know, and it's beautiful too.
Yeah, it is. And no, yeah, but it's true because we went to a couple who has a retreat place in Portugal, and they had a goat, or they still have the goat, called Lucky, and it was part of the dog pack. So
Yes.
it thought it was a dog, even though there was many other small sheep and goats around. It was just hanging out with the dogs. So I went for a walk with the dogs and a goat. Best
Goats
time.
bond with all kinds of animals, also with horses. You know, people, because horses are herd animals, they don't like to be alone. It's not really conducive for them to be alone. So a lot of people will get a goat if they don't have space or money for another horse. They'll get a goat, and the goat will keep the horse company, like an emotional support goat.
See, I need a goat. I should have brought some tissues. I'm already crying of laughing here. But I need a goat. I didn't know that. What a weird.
Moving out to the country will bring up all kinds of inner truths.
I know. So we can, because Jens was thinking about like getting a horse today because he feels like such a cowboy. He was listening to some Texas music today. But anyways. Okay, let's get
Jens with horses. I can see him riding a horse.
I couldn't. I don't know. He doesn't have the. I don't know. I feel like he has the.
Has he ridden horses, or?
I don't think so.
That's why it's so funny to me that he would just he would just get a horse and like
gun so I can shoot the pheasants, and it's like,
yeah,
oh.
I can see him riding with a gun shooting pheasants. That
But
seems like a Jens thing.
But he needs
Maybe
somebody to
not.
have a hold on the horse while he's like, he can look smart, and it has not to be in the camera then when we do our YouTube videos. And somebody's like, because no, I think we stick with the goat. Let me ask you some questions.
Yeah. I love how I actually have no idea what we're going to talk about. Like, I just realized as I like it. It's good. I was just sitting here, like, setting up my mic, and I was like, what are we even talking about? I don't even know.
I know. And then I researched the whole how to do a podcast really well, and you had to have a goal and a mission and all that stuff. What else? And you need to solve a problem for people. And I was like, oh no, because it's too much structure for you and me. And I think I will of course get better at this, but I just thought, let's just get into it and talk today. And because Jens always feels like when you and me, we have a conversation, it's just so funny. And I thought like, then that's why I wanted to. But anyways, I have questions.
Yes, I have answers.
Hopefully. So I want to talk about your journey a little bit, because something also why I invited you today is you are not living quite a normal life. And I don't remember the whole story if you actually ever had a 9-to-5 job, because you are so much out of the box as well. You're doing your whole sound healing thing now. I remember you painting as well, but I never remembered you as having like this normal kind of 9-to-5 life. And have you ever, first of all, and if you did, how did you escape it, or how did you shape your life? Because you seem like so in tune with yourself and knowing what you want and know what your passion is, and you always choose a journey somehow that feels more aligned to you, or you break free if it doesn't feel good anymore. That's a long question. Does it make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I've definitely had 9-to-5. Well, maybe actually that's not even true. I suppose I only had one job that was like a proper full-time job. When I was, I think, 16, 15 maybe, I worked at a bakery. Maybe not totally full-time, but I worked at a bakery. And but then I had been writing songs, as young as 14. And then when I was like 16, I started just going to open mics. And I think the first time I played, they asked me if I would like play every week and pay, pay me for it. So then I actually ended up leaving the bakery job and just did, I would just play these gigs in the downtown area of where I was living in Florida. And that's what I did from like 16 and 17. I was just doing these, at cafes, just playing for like 2 hours, and they'd pay me $100 or $120 or something. And I would do that a few times a week at different places. And I mean, the thing with Florida is the area that I grew up in it's not very inspiring culturally. Like, it's not like Copenhagen, where you just have it's so rich with art and music and spaces, supportive, collaborative spaces. But it does pay well. Like, I got paid really well in Florida, whereas in Copenhagen, I love Copenhagen, I didn't get paid well for anything I did musically.
Really?
They don't pay you well. No, but it was so much more enriching. It was more enriching in the sense that there's so much amazing art and creativity happening in Copenhagen, and everywhere you go there's a space to be nourished in that way. But the like, you don't get necessarily paid well for playing unless you're a bigger artist, but if you're just playing restaurants, the pay is not pretty good. A lot of them don't even pay you. So it was just ironic that I left Florida because it was so uninspiring in that way, but I did get paid well. So 16, 17, I was doing that. That's what I did. I was a singer-songwriter and playing at restaurants. Yeah. And it was I was very blessed. I just went to an open mic and people would ask me to play. But then I had vocal nodules. So I developed these like almost like these callus bumps on my vocal cords, and I was completely unable to sing for a little over a year. And it was pretty serious. I kept going to the doctor. Nothing they did for me ever helped, but I kept going, and they were trying to, giving me different things. I had tonsil stones, which is essentially when your tonsils start getting full of like this white bacteria, and these like white stones start coming out of your tonsils in the back of your throat. And it was really bad. It was like really, really bad. And I had to get my tonsils out. And so I had a year and a half of, having tonsil surgery and going to the doctor and trying to fix this chronic throat infection that I had, and loss of voice. And so then I went back to work. I worked at a like a veterinary clinic for a year, taking care of all the animals, which I really liked. So that was like a full-time job. Every day I was there, except for maybe weekends. And I was working, I think, up to like 50 hours a week. And that's what I did right up until I left for Denmark, when I moved to Copenhagen when I was 19. When I got to Copenhagen, I got a job at a deli in Furtix.
Oh, nice.
An Asian deli. Yeah. It was like a booth in Furtix, and I was making Asian sandwiches, like Vietnamese sandwiches. I did that for almost a year. And then I stopped, and that's when I started taking the gymnasiumsoplettering, like the high school supplementation classes in Danish, because I thought I might want to go to university, but also because I could get the stipend from the state.
Yeah.
That was really the main reason. I was telling everyone I was going to go to university. I had no intention of going to university.
No.
But I managed to kind of, I don't want to say exploit, because that's what it's for. I was studying, and and I was studying over a certain amount of hours. So I would get this stipend, which was not a lot, but just enough to like pay my rent. And I did that for, I think, a year and a half. I even managed to travel to Southeast Asia and do like solo backpacking for 3 months, only on that stipend that I was getting, because I was studying online while I was there. So I even managed to do that. It was really tight. I mean, I just had enough money, but it worked. But it was, that's when I started when I was doing these classes, online. I was pretty much online at that point. That's when I started, I was still playing concerts. I was still, I had a band that I was playing with, or doing open mics. And then I kind of shifted into more sound healing, shifting my music away from stages and performance and more towards ceremony settings. And right about when that happened is when it felt really clear to me, like, I can't take these classes anymore, because I'm not doing it for like a deeper purpose. It's not fulfilling me. I'm just doing it because it allows me to, like, pay my rent essentially. And then I just decided to stop, and I had no idea where money was going to come from. You know what I mean? But I
Oh
like
shit.
knew that it wouldn't come unless I stopped. So I stopped, and for several months I didn't have like any money. And then something random would happen, like my partner and I, Brendan and I, we got we applied for some kind of COVID fund for artists who had not been able to make money during COVID. And we got, we made an application and we got funded. So then that was my money for the next 6 months or something. So just like random things would kind of come through. But then I started doing the work that I'm doing now, which is online one-on-one sessions and online courses with people. And that just, it allowed me to make the money essentially that I needed to pay for food and move from one place to another.
Yeah.
But ironically, so I've been doing that for the past year, working completely for myself, not doing any kind of job or anything like that. But ironically, I did just start a very much part-time little job at this bakery down the street.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, well, because for me, it got to the point where everything I do is online, and I've been traveling for a year and staying in places for a month, 2 months. So I've not been like developing connection to people like in person around me. Um, and so in this way, I've just found myself almost being like consumed in this vacuum of I'm just
Yeah.
doing my work on my computer. And I've just realized that for myself, I'm such an independent person, and it's so easy for me to do my own thing. I mean, that's why I was able to just start gigging when I was 16 and to like make up this work that I do and do that successfully. Like, I'm very driven and motivated when I'm on my own. And just being in my own like artistic like hermit space where I just get whatever I need to do done. But I've realized for me, it's become a block almost, as someone who's so comfortable in my independence and aloneness, that I've actually, to create balance, I've needed to be a part of something and to engage more with, also traveling, not having that in-person engagement as much. So I've just started helping at this adorable bakery, and I love it so much. And I just go in and I help them make cookies and sell cookies.
Oh,
And
nice.
it's but just those few hours of doing that, it's like I'm not just Talitha doing her thing all alone in her
Yeah.
space, just disappearing into herself. I'm like, I just show up, I play a role for these people. What do you need me to do? I'll do it for you.
Yeah.
They're super friendly, it's a great environment. And I just it's creating a balance that I've kind of didn't realize I needed until very recently. And yeah, and it's serving this really interesting purpose. And it's really, I had a story that like I could never do a regular job again. I had a whole story about it. And now I find myself rewriting that story and realizing that for this phase that I'm in at this moment, beginning to ground again into my environment and wanting to like live somewhere more permanently, I need this. It's like really nourishing me in this unexpected way.
I completely can relate to that, actually. That is so funny you saying that, because I'm also next year gonna take some yoga classes in the real world, where I'm gonna be the teacher, of course. And everybody is over 70, but doesn't and I've been to some of the classes now to get to know them and everything like that. And it feels really nice to just get into the real world again, because we've been working on the computer for 7 years or something like that. No, doesn't too long. And I definitely miss the connection as well, doing something for the community and being part of something, like having a little more of a routine, and it's not always like on the screen and figuring out the news thing, how to get people into your programs or whatever. And that's why also we bought this place, right, to invite real people, not that this isn't real, but just having this physical interaction, because I'm quite independent too, and I've been this since, well, yeah, since I was 17 and moved out of my parents' home. I always made it myself. And that's a long time ago though. It's 20 years ago. Damn, I just turned 38. yeah. Anyways, that's just a side note. But yeah, I can relate to that so much, that you needed this, because you've been traveling quite a lot the last year,
Yeah, just
right?
moving month to month, different place, and it's been
Yeah.
really nice. But I could feel just at the end of these past few months, I could feel like my nervous system needed some kind of grounding. And also, community is really important to me, and I have an online community, but cultivating in-person community, for me at least, I'm not a super hyper social person. I can only socialize so much in a given week. I need most of my energy really is well spent by myself. And,
Mm.
I'm very introverted in that way, and I don't have a lot of energy to give to other people. But I do still, it's really important for me to be able to do that. But because we haven't been anywhere for more than a month or two, it's almost like I have no motivation to connect, because I'm like, I'm just going to leave these people and never see them again. Why would I, why would I do
Actually,
that? But I can feel that that's not something I want to stay in. And there's been an aspect of my nervous system that's just needed to be somewhere. And so we're here for like 3 months, I think, which is pretty
okay.
good compared to moving around as much as
Well,
I've been.
yeah, no, I can so much relate. And where are you?
We are in a little town in northern Arizona called
Oh,
Prescott. It's like an hour and a half outside of Sedona.
okay.
So and we're like 6,000 feet, almost 6,000 feet elevation. So even though we're in Arizona, it snows here. I mean, it's that we're that high up that it's snowing, which is interesting because we came to Arizona for the warmth, and then we ended up here.
Yeah, I was also wondering why you would like dress similar to me, just in your, you know, your wool sweater. And so
Yeah.
it's, yeah. Oh, that's so cool. Okay, so um I like also going back to a little bit with the music. I didn't know when actually when you told me, I remembered you were singing and you were doing it from a quite young age. Did you always know that that was your path? Like, because for me, I have never know what I want to do with my life. I've completely been lost always. I find I find something interesting and I do it, I learn it, and then I'm like done with it. So yeah, so I don't think I have found it yet. Maybe it's the podcast, who knows. But did you know that singing was something, because
Not
you're
at
a
all.
beautiful singer as well. God, love your voice.
Well, so from a really young age, I always wanted to be a veterinarian. I loved animals.
Me
So
too.
from age probably since I was like 5 or 6 years old till I was, I don't know, 15, I was like, I'm going to be a veterinarian. And so in a sense, I've always had this, I know what I want. I've always had like a very strong sense of what I like, what I want to do. And I've always had a very strong sense of whatever I want, I will have at some point. I will create it for myself. I've always had a confidence. I don't know where it comes from, but I've had it. So I was like, I will be a veterinarian, like, because I just loved animals and I just wanted to help animals.
Mhm.
And then I started working with horses when I was like 12. And then it shifted to I'm going to be an equine veterinarian, so a horse veterinarian. And then I realized that I hated math. And I was like, oh, you have to do a lot of math to be a veterinarian. So I was like, I'm going to be an equine behaviorist. So from like 13 to 15, 16, I was going to be an equine behaviorist, which is essentially a horse psychologist. So your work, which seems like, what is
So
this
like a
kind of a
horse
job?
whisperer.
Like, am I doing like therapy for horses? But no, so what it is essentially is it's working a lot with also like wild horses, like studying their psychology and their herd communication, and assisting people who have problems with their horses, and doing it because typically the way that we treat horses is we don't honor their actual nature. We just break
No.
them. We
Yeah.
we break them until they submit to us. And so this is like working with their psychology to actually communicate and create a relationship with them. And I was studying, I studied like this stuff hardcore for years. And that's really what I was set on. But I had started writing songs when I was like 13. You know, my dad, I always sang. And my dad, you know, is super, both my parents are artists. They do different kind of work, but they infuse their kind of artistic, creative expression into it. And so music has always been like a big thing. My dad used to be in a singing group, and my aunt was in a big singing group in the 50s. And so I grew up singing. I was always in that environment and did harmonies with my dad and my brother. And, you know, that was just normal. And so my dad was like, listen, you sing all the time. Here's a guitar, learn how to play. So he showed me some chords. And I just started writing songs. And I think I wrote songs for over a year and didn't tell anyone. Like, so I secretly wrote songs.
That's so cool.
This is like a perfect glimpse into like who I was as a child and teenager. Like, I was writing, like, I wrote so many songs, like full entire songs at like 14 years old. And I didn't tell anyone. I don't know. There was like I knew they were good, but I had like there was like weird secrecy and like about it that was very strange. I don't know.
Where did you hide them, under your bed, or?
I mean, I wrote down the lyrics in a book, and, you know, and I just never told anyone. And then one day, I was going to play music with a friend. We were going to practice some songs that we were going to play at a kind of 4-H gathering, like a youth gathering, songs that I had not written. So I was playing, everyone knew that I played other songs, like cover songs, but I've never told anyone that I wrote my own songs. And then one day my dad was like, you know, you should start writing your own songs because you're such a good writer. And I was just like, I write songs. And he was like, what do you mean? I was like, I've written like a ton of songs. And he was like, and I played them for him. And he was just like, what? How long have you been doing this? I was like a year.
Secret. What you doing?
So
I'm just writing a song.
Yeah. I mean, you know, as a kid and a teenager, I was very like, I was very shy. I did not, you know, connect a lot to other people. You know, I had a few friends that were close, but I was not an open person at all. I was like this quiet, shy, mysterious, secretive person. You know, no one knew that I was like writing songs or any of the other things that I did. It was all like this very personal, private, secretive thing. I had a weird hang up with that. I don't anymore, but it was.
Why though? How like,
I think, you know, one of the ways I understand it is like astrologically, my moon sign is Scorpio, and rules very much the emotions. And I've always had like really, really deep emotions and felt really deeply about everything. And but Scorpio also, there's an essence of mystery there, of it's so deep that you don't know that it's even there, kind of like that kind of saying that, you know, still water runs deep. So it was that kind of archetype of someone who you can't really, they look totally still or relaxed, but like there's really just like so much going on. And it was so much for me, the emotion and the inner experience that I had, that it was like I didn't know how to bring it into the world around me. And I am naturally someone, like, I am very internal. Most of my experience is inside. I don't put there, a lot of it isn't actually happening out here. And so it's been a journey for me to like learn how to like take this inner world and just like share it with people. Like it was a kind of ability or skill or tool that I didn't have as a kid. I had to teach myself. And it's still hard for me sometimes, you know? So I don't know if it's just my kind of energy signature or something that, you know, I really don't know what it is. But for me, it's so much of who I am is an internal experience that is not naturally on display for anyone. And so the displaying is something I have to actively do, you know? So then when I was 16, my dad was like, you should, you know, play these songs at like open mics, you know, you should share these because they're really good. And
yeah,
I went, and the first one I went to, they were just like, do you want to start playing here? And then I started doing that, and I realized like, oh, I like this a lot. And that whole story that I had of what I have to be and what work I have to do with horses or whatever it is, like, I don't have to do that. Like I could just like write songs. And I just kind of decided like, okay, I do that now. And I just decided to fully pursue that.
I do like that because it really reminds me of, I do feel like a lot of people do a lot of stuff nowadays, the work they work with, because we have like this thinking of life has to be hard or work has to be hard, right? And we know sometimes overlook actually what comes natural to us and what comes easy to us. And suddenly it feels like almost it's just there, and you're just naturally good at singing and writing those songs because that is your personality. It's like this, I almost see it's like the avatar world. It's a completely different world inside of you, and I wish I could be in there and just like follow along, because I think it's amazing. And I think there's a lot of like flowers and lakes and waterfalls, and I don't know, but I think that's quite special that you then it's such in such a young age just went with what was easy in a sense, or just flowed,
Yeah.
if you can say that.
Yeah, and I have to say that I know a really big part of my ability to trust my gifts and to pursue it is like my parents and the way that I was raised.
Of
I mean, my
course,
parents
yeah.
are both deeply, deeply supportive and encouraging, you know, and they're both artists, and they didn't end up doing exactly what they wanted to be doing with their art, but they both use that artistic gift in the work that they do, you know. So my dad used to be a stage actor, and he did drama teaching for kids, and he's also an incredible visual artist, and he does art therapy with people in recovery. You know what I mean? So
Wow.
he's not doing
Yeah.
exactly what he, you know, maybe thought he should be doing when he was younger, but he's using it. And they've always been, I mean, that's something that they have both really intentionally cultivated in myself and my brother from the earliest age, like just always making sure that we knew that whatever we wanted to do, we were supposed to do. And if it was anything creative, that was like the utmost important thing, you know, like, so as a kid, if it was time to go to bed and it was getting really late, but I said, look, I'm like writing songs, they were like, go for it. Like, if you're writing music, like don't sleep if you don't want to, you know what I mean? And just,
Wow.
and never suggested for a moment to me that I couldn't do something I didn't want to do. And I think as children, like, that's so essential. And most of us, we don't actually get that. You know, we might have a parent who's like, yeah, you can do what you want. But there's an inner belief of like, but don't rely on it too much. You know what I mean? You don't want to
Exactly.
get disappointed. My parents have never even suggested to me that it could be possible for me to be
Oh,
disappointed.
wow.
They like genuinely believed in every single creative impulse I've ever had, which that I know has just, I've never had to look for that. It was just given to me, because it was given to me, I gave it to myself, you know? So in a way, it's like all I know.
That is so fascinating, and that will also create a lot of confidence in yourself, right? Like if you just your parents just believe in you and allow you to just follow whatever flows through you without saying, oh no, an artist, that's going to be too hard, or a painter, or whatever, because that's kind of the mainstream thinking about these things, right? No, it's better to be, especially in America, I know it's better to be a lawyer, a doctor, or whatever. And wow, that is quite special that they brought you up like that. I feel like that is a lot of where because then you can also rely on your intuition. You know when it feels right. You can allow yourself to walk that path, which I don't think I had, because it was always made wrong if I expressed some kind of creativity, or wanted to do something outside of the box. It's like even when you go to school, they rate you on, or give you grades on stuff that's not really, what do you say, not really, doesn't really matter, does it? Because it doesn't express your whole personality. It's just, are you good at math or not, right? It's just such a limited world. And if you don't have it, then when you come home and it can be opened up, and then somebody's allowing you to just be who you are, then it's sometimes hard to navigate, the your intuition. I've definitely lost that when I was a child, to figuring out what do I really want? Who am I actually? And I think
Yeah.
that's beautiful that they did that.
Yeah. And I know it's, of course, I'm also someone who, I am very naturally independent, and I have a very strong sense of me. And I've never been influenced by like peers or like my
Mm.
friends. You know, I've never been the kind of kid who was like, oh, people are doing this, I should do this. So I did have a natural sense of just like, I do whatever I want, not caring what other people think. But then also being in this environment with parents who continually encourage that, it like compounded, almost, it like magnified this confidence in me, which I know that if I had been in a different environment growing up with different, you know, with different parents, it would be a totally different experience.
Yeah.
There's like an inner mechanism that like has to allow that self permission that we give, you know, which is, it's so hard to create if it's not, you know, if it's not just naturally there. It's so difficult to, you can't just force it. You know, people saying like, just believe in yourself, do what you feel like you should be doing. Like if you didn't have if you don't know what that feels like, or you never experienced that as a child because no one gave it to you, and you didn't see your parents ever allowing themselves to do anything that they really wanted, you actually don't know what that feels like. You know, so it's like, it's genuinely a very challenging thing to connect to and embody if you don't have a reference point for it.
Exactly.
You know, and I think it's really like, we can get so hung up on like, oh, I don't know why I can't just do what I want, why I don't know why I don't know what I want, you know, and go like, what is wrong with me, what am I not doing right? But I think it's a supportive to acknowledge like the experience that you've had up until any point, you know, and have you ever seen, did you have an example of that as a child? You know, because that's really where all the imprinting happens. Not to say it can't be reprogrammed, but it's definitely plays a huge role, you know.
Huge, because that's something I've been struggling with a lot. Like I just said, like really understanding, what do I want, or who am I, how does it feel like, also to allow myself to emerge in something that I like, with being backed up by it as well, like having that, like having somebody like yeah, just giving you the confidence and the backup to go that road, like follow your heart. And that was just not possible, like not at home, not in school. So it was first when I actually moved to Bali, it was the first time I could start recreating myself, because nobody knew me there. So I was like allowed to tap into something that was me, because nobody knew me. So I couldn't finally follow whatever creative expressions I wanted to. So I started painting, I started doing all sorts kind of stuff, and I didn't have like any money worries at that point, so I could also just relax into creativity and finding that again. But I still think, yeah, it's something we have to add to our children from the get-go, for sure.
Yeah, it's
So
so important, I think.
yeah, I want to shift a little bit gears here, because I invited you to one of my women's circle. That's the last time we saw each other then.
So that was
Yeah.
not a year ago because I was in Florida.
Yeah,
That was like
exactly.
maybe 7 months ago or something.
Yeah. Okay.
I don't know.
It wasn't bad anyways. And you were doing this whole chakra sound healing, where we were going through the different chakras and saying different sounds, and you've been working a lot with that lately. And I wanted to ask you, because I'm very much into the whole menstrual cycle awareness, and how we can heal ourselves and all that stuff. But have you seen with your clients, and how does the sound of all this affect actually the women's bodies? Because I heard a lot from studying that sounds, because in the old days we were singing a lot more, right? Nowadays we don't do it anymore, but women were singing in those circles, they were coming together, sharing stuff. And how do you feel like the shift in your clients and the women generally when we start to sing and open up? Because I also heard the vagina is very much connected to the throat area. Oh, the eyebrows are going up. Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Let's get juicy.
I mean, unfortunately I don't have the proper like anatomy terms for this, but the vocal cords, the tissue of the vocal cords and the ligaments in the voice and the throat, they correlate very much to the womb space.
Yeah.
And it's like there's actually a similar structure in the, I unfortunately I don't have the proper words for this.
Me too.
But essentially, when your voice is vibrating, when your vocal cords are vibrating, that vibration reflects in the womb space.
Yeah.
It's not just like a concept. Like there's actually a vibration that synchronizes in the womb space.
See,
So anything you're doing here is connecting. Which, if you think about the fact that women in general have had such a repressed vocal expression, you know,
Yeah.
and men have it too, but women have it in a different way. If you think about how there's this repression and tension and block in the voice, and then you think about how that correlates to then not just womb health, but like the expression of the womb, of the creative power, you know, and then also like menstrual health and all these things which most women struggle with.
Yep.
I mean, it makes such perfect sense. And you know, even in the birthing process, I have a wonderful sister who does birth work, and she also works with the voice, and we did work together. And she shared with me something that was so interesting, which is that when you are giving birth, of course, typically there's a vocalizing that happens. Women make a lot of sound. And there's actually a reason for that sound, because the more you can open up vocally, the more you actually open up in the birth canal. Which is really, really interesting. So the allowing yourself to begin with to make sound in the birthing process actually opens and relaxes the birth canal, and it actually assists and the birth of the child. And depending on like where the child is in the birth canal and what part is moving and like what stage of the birth you are in, the voice does different things, because different sounds move different part of the body in different ways. Different frequencies and tones have a different action within the body, which is just so incredible. And also says a lot for, you know, women who are not able to be vocal in the birth process, whether it's, you know, religious reasons, you know, where you're not allowed to be vocal. I know that in Scientology, women are forbidden from making sound when they give birth, which is pretty freaky.
So
terrifying.
So you cannot even squeak? It's like just
you can't make sound. You have to have a silent birth. You know, or women who just are not able to.
Yeah.
Women who just like, so for I remember telling this to my mother, and she was like, "Oh, that makes so much sense, because I couldn't make any sound when I was giving birth to you, and it was so hard." And it was like that whole like I can feel where that makes sense, because she, for whatever reason, she didn't feel that she could make it, that she could use her voice in the proper way. I feel, you know, it's,
yeah, sorry, it's just, yeah, because I was just thinking it is related, but it also sounds weird. But we just went to starting to go to dog training with the dog we have, and so she's encouraging us to speak up louder, to get the dog to listen, and it's so hard for me. And I feel like it's like a little bit similar. This, like, because I used to be very shy when I was young. I was so shy. Now I'm just weird. But this of like really voicing yourself in and screaming after your dog, or screaming when you're giving birth, I think that is so hard for me, because it's like then the eyes will be on you if you speak up or you sing or you do a podcast or whatever. Even this, I've been shitting myself since yesterday because I had to, you know, I have to sit here and speak, right? And it's just you and me and the camera, but what you're just saying, that's it's so, why couldn't your mom then didn't voice herself?
I think a lot of women have that experience where it's just, you know, in the same way that some women don't ever have they don't ever feel the need or drive to push. Some women just don't, it doesn't come up for them. You know what I mean? And so I think there could be a lot of reasons for it. The birth environment probably is a big one.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And just like what you've been taught about it, you know, like the education and the understanding around it. But, you know, if there's not a deeper connection to the body, I mean, the voice naturally arises in the birthing process. But if there's a disconnect from the body, you know, then why, you know, you might, that message, that signal might not get through for whatever reason. If there's, I mean, I think there are so many reasons why there could be a suppression, or just not being able to figure out what sound to make to begin with, even though it's an intuitive process. But it's very, very interesting.
It is. And I think also it's something we need to talk about a little bit more, but I think it's more almost a little bit beautiful. So she couldn't make a sound, and now you're making so many sounds. It's like, it's such a, but she's not a singer then.
No,
because then she would have known how to, because it's also being
that's on my dad's side.
Oh, that's on your
the musicians. And,
wow.
It's very interesting. I think there's probably so many things that, she just explained it as like, I just couldn't make sound. It just didn't happen. But I think there are probably so many reasons there. The environment of the space, and just so many things that came into play. Also considering, like the story that is passed down within the female lineage. What was her birth like? What was her mother's birth like?
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. I do know that my great grandmother on my mom's side, I think, died in childbirth. Right. So I know of, like, I think that would be my mom's great grandmother, or passing in childbirth. So there's so many nuances, like, under the surface there, that I think only the individual themselves can actually, like, uncover. And it's not always necessary to uncover either. We can also, like, move past these wounds or programs without having to fully know them intellectually. But
true.
But there's a very interesting correlation between sound, the tone, the volume, the quality of the sound, and what it relates to. So, for example, talking about raising your voice in an assertive way. Like, it's not just that, there's a reason why raising your voice has a particular effect on people, because there's a tone and a volume that whether it's that you're channeling that energy or you're transmitting it to another person, it captures something. So that's power. Raising your voice is power, which is why most women either feel like they can't raise their voice, or they have loud voices and they're ashamed of their loud voice, right? And why men typically have this forced, maybe louder voice, right? So, like, every sound, and this is what's really interesting to explore in exploring your own voice and voice activation, is noticing what sounds you can't make, or you feel afraid to make, or uncomfortable to make, because every sound has a quality, an emotion, a certain characteristic or gift or expression that is tied to it. In the same way that, like, if I spoke in a really soft and gentle voice, that would have a certain effect on your system.
Yeah.
There would be a certain emotion and energy frequency that was transmitted to you that would say something very different than if I, spoke in this really loud, assertive kind of tone. And just noticing the spaces where, so for example, we usually have a groove, so to speak, the same way that if a tire drives through the mud in the same place, you get this deep groove. And we usually have a kind of vocal groove, a certain way of speaking, whether it's tone or volume or quality of voice, that is our comfort zone. And when we're speaking in this way, we feel comfortable and confident that other people like us, and we feel kind of good about ourselves. It's the voice that we use when we meet people, when we're in a social situation and we want to be received and well liked. And it's the voice that our ego attaches to most. We say, this is my voice, this is who I am. Usually for women, it's a softer, more feminine voice, and for men, it's a more quote unquote masculine, heavier, louder, whatever voice. And what's interesting is to begin looking outside of the groove, like these other areas that you haven't driven through yet, so to speak, with the tire. And so it feels almost impossible to be in, because you haven't like driven through it yet. And just noticing, like, what those sounds are and what those sounds make you feel like you are. So for example, ugly sounds, quote unquote ugly sounds that we as women especially don't want to make. And that's something I always work with people in the vocalization process, is like, find the sounds that you find most that you feel most resistance to, and that you really hope you don't have to make, like those sounds that you're like, I hope my voice doesn't sound like this. Go there right off the bat. Go there right away.
Oh, wow.
Like, this is not about improving your voice. And a lot of people come into the space with me like having this agenda subconsciously or consciously to improve their voice. And for women, it's usually like, I want my voice to be even more beautiful and feminine and divine, and, you know, all of these kind of labels that we attach. And the truth is that, in my own experience, really getting to that point of being embodied in this like really beautiful and divine vocal expression, you can't get there unless you work with all of these other frequencies. Do you know what I mean? And so it's really about like letting go of improving the voice, like get into the nitty gritty, the spaces where you feel ugly or unwanted or too loud or too soft or whatever it is, and find yourself in that tone. You know, you don't even have to like go through the emotions and the belief systems and stories in your head. You can just be in the sound frequency of it. Just allowing yourself to make a really ugly sound without needing to get caught up in what it means. And, you know, typically we try to deal with our resistances through the mind. We have to do this whole trip where we're like, how does this make me feel? What does this connect to? How can I, you know?
Yeah.
Whereas like you could just be in the frequency of it, because the sound is the pure frequency of that state, and just be in the frequency and see what happens. And that's usually what happens with, especially the women that I work with, is like, we don't have to do the mental gymnastics and like figuring out and analyzing how everything, you know, just be in the sound. And by being in the sound, there's this purification that happens around the relationship and the stories and the resistances and the fears, and it like purifies itself. And what comes through at the end of that is just someone feeling more like them, you know, just feeling more like themselves.
Yeah. It sounds so like everything else, right? Because it reminds me of this movie. It's called Joy, where you have to be in all your feelings. You cannot always just be in joy and happiness. I don't know if you saw it. It's a cartoon movie, but it's the same thing.
The emotions one. Inside out.
Okay, I think, yeah, the girl is maybe called Joy. Inside Out, yeah. And I really like it because it feels like a little bit similar what you're talking about, like being in every emotion, like allow yourself to be angry, allow yourself to be sad, and all these stuff. And it's the same thing with your voice, kind of. You have to allow yourself to be in every tone. I even was afraid to say at the end of a yoga class, because it meant so much. It was so much power behind actually. It's such a deep voice that actually vibrates so deeply inside of yourself. And I was always in the back of the class, and now I'm like really like I think I'm the loudest now. But anyways, it was so hard in the beginning to be in that to expressing my voice. It's quite fascinating to hear you telling about it. It makes so much sense. Going out of battery.
Did my mic just died, I think.
Does my voice
did my voice change?
No,
because my mic is it okay? Is the sound okay?
Yeah,
good, because my mic is dead.
oh, you might. Do you have like a fabulous mic like this, or what?
I do have a mic. It's not that fabulous though, because it's dead.
That's a shitty microphone. It's like, what the?
Yeah.
Oh shit. Anyways,
Well,
I can. Well, I can.
I'm good with sound, so this should be fine.
I hope it's fine. Just talk a little bit.
Hello, testing 1 2 3. You could also sit closer. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I think it's better when you're a little bit closer than more far away. Then.
I'll sit closer.
Wow. Okay. So, and one thing I think that so back to actually the question itself. So it really does open up like the woman's body when you do those vocal what do you say? Vocal
meditations,
meditation. Yeah.
I would say it opens everything. I mean, it's a very holographic kind of technology in the sense that it reaches into everything. So it has an effect on the body physically. Like, it's also, if you're thinking about everything within the body resonates at a certain frequency.
Yeah.
And very often, we can fall out of frequency, which is what disease or lack of health, can look like, a certain illness or an imbalance. And when we expose the body physically to a frequency, it's very natural for the body to meet it, to come into alignment with it, which is why things like crystal bowls and like sound healing instruments are so powerful for the body frequencies, because the body will come into resonance with a frequency, and that's how we can bring ourselves into balance. But the truth is, there is no sound more healing for your body than your voice. Your voice was literally, it's like made for the dimensions and density and whatever, your body, exactly what your body is. There's no voice that's more healing for it, and that's really important to.
That's why a lot of actually, when you do like some online courses or whatever, they actually suggest that you record your own voice in a meditation and listen to it when you go to bed. I heard a lot. I always wanted to try that. Actually, I think that is a great tool, because I can only imagine that will play much better than hearing somebody else's voice, because you're so of course used to it. Even though you sound different from the inside out, right?
Yeah. Well, and the voice carries information.
Yeah.
It's not like, we like to think of the voice as this very physical mechanism, like the vocal cords are just this physical mechanism. It vibrates and sound happens, and yes, it can have cool effects in the body, but it's like this physical thing. When I think it's really like interesting to even begin exploring, like, where is your voice coming from? Like, really, is it not just the sound, but every sound you make, whether it's a word, whether it's through singing, there is an energy that it's holding, and you can feel that, when you're singing or when you're speaking, you're transmitting more than just sound. Otherwise your sound would be meaningless, right? You're constantly imbuing some kind of feeling, some kind of frequency into your voice. And where does that come from? It's really like a non-concept, and that's where we begin to understand, like, the voice is like a, it's a spiritual technology, and it carries information, and that's another layer as to why it's so healing for the body, because it has the ability. This is why we talk about channeling, right? Like, we use the voice to channel. The voice is an incredible kind of vessel to hold, to bring through, and to hold and transmit information. It's like an empty vessel in that way. And so when we're talking about also healing the body, shifting energy in the body, working with energy centers, the voice is so powerful because it's also able to transmit information, multi-dimensional information, not like mind information, that's super three-dimensional, but like non-linear, multi-dimensional information.
I love it. And how do you feel like, because I just looked at your Instagram, and I can see you are much in nature. So how is your connection with nature in that sense, where you outside and you're singing a lot with nature? And I feel like also you are such a nature child. You're just absolutely in love with it. But how does that interfere with, or integrate with your music, with your singing? Like, I just see you use Mother Nature a lot.
Yeah. I mean, I think that the connection that I first think of is that my voice is where I find myself. Like, I'm never more myself than when I'm vocalizing, and even when I was younger and I was writing songs, and it was not as maybe authentic as what I'm doing now, on a soul level, it was always where I found myself, like the core of myself. And nature is also a place where I completely find myself.
Yeah.
When I'm in nature, there's just me, it's an incredibly purifying experience. And the same goes for my voice. So it feels just like it is the most natural space for me to be. And it's also where, for me, my voice is a space of like communication. It's a space that allows me to connect with what is around me, not that it's really separate from me, but to have that experience of unification, so I use my voice to like interact and commune with nature. It becomes almost like this playing field or this vessel where like all of these other experiences can happen, almost like a psychedelic, right? Where like you space that allows for this deeper union and connection and communication. And for me, that's what my voice does, or like that's what a certain kind of particular channeling process that I have does. And the only way I can explain it is just it's the most natural space for me to be. And it's also a space where I feel I can ground, the energy that I work with, because very much we're talking about channeling. We can really get caught up in these upper chakras, and forget that we're also down here, that we're also on earth, rooted and we're grounded. And I do see that a bit in that kind of community where there's an imbalance, and there's also very much this idea of escaping earth, getting up into those upper chakras, leaving the body into this quote unquote channeling state, because there's really a deeper resistance to being in a dense human physical body. And that used to be an experience that I deeply related to. I had a very hard time being here and understanding why I was here. But now it's very much the opposite. Like, so using my voice to not bring me out and escape somewhere, but to like be here and to root. And that in essence is a feminine expression, right? Because the feminine doesn't rise. We talk about feminine rising, like it doesn't ascend, the feminine descends, it roots down. And so for me, it's like, it's actually this deeply feminine experience, and it connects me to my femininity. Using the voice to bring me even deeper into my physical body and to root me and connect me into nature and unify me with it. And it's an incredibly nourishing and grounding experience. And that's where my focus now is more than ever with my voice. It's earth, and it's grounding, and it's being here and connecting instead of escaping out, connecting what is up here more deeply into earth.
That it's so cool, because I actually wrote on my paper here, you're the earth sister of sound. But you're so right. I just want to grab onto the point on, you said like we in the spiritual space, we always try to escape the body. We are meditating ourselves out of here all the time, and we're going into space, figuring something out, instead of actually acknowledge we are in this meat suit right here now, and Earth is here, and she needs our help, and there's so much to do here, and to integrate into Earth again. And I like your expression on, digging your toes into Earth, and the feminine about that. I almost got a little bit because that sounded so beautiful, because you're so right. We're here now. There's no reason to figuring out outer space in that sense. How can we be in our bodies and embrace the feminine as well? There's so much going on inside our bodies we don't know shit about. This whole menstrual cycle awareness we are talking about, also what we learned in Sweden when we met the first time. I was like, what? Why is nobody telling us about this? Like the whole moon cycle, how we are different each season. So yeah, there's so much actually to be learned in the lower chakras, and going deep into the feminine instead of see you later, I'm out. Yeah. So I think that was just a really beautiful point, but I want to add a question to that. So what would you give the listener today, a tool, something that we can start like coming back into that feminine and to the body, or something like a little, exercise, or whatever we can call it?
I mean, I definitely think including somatic elements to the vocalizing process, so bringing it physically into the body, is really helpful. So what's interesting about, these kind of vocal meditation exercises is that they, where you're bringing your awareness and where you're bringing your voice, it's not just like a random exercise. Like, visualize that you're bringing your voice into your feet. Like, it's not just a random thing that you do that's entertaining. It really directs energy and focus. And so I think for one, especially for people who maybe feel that they could be more grounded and more rooted, beginning to focus on the lower chakras. The chakras are a really easy way to connect to certain archetypal energies and frequencies and characteristics, right? They all represent different kind of aspects of who we are. And even though there's a general rule for what, our chakras do for us, like they're also unique in what they can offer us. And which is why I really encourage people to like explore that themselves, not just read about what their root chakra does. Like, be in your root chakra, sing into your root chakra, what arises, like what is there for you, because what your root chakra has to offer you might be very different from what mine does, because we're different people and we're at a different point. So I think working with the chakra, that it's an easier way, because this can get really abstract. Like, how do you ground? Do you know what I mean? Like, we can talk about like, eat root vegetables and like walk barefoot on the earth, but at the same time, like depending on where your focus is and what you're constantly attuning your awareness to, you can keep yourself up here, and also for people who are sensitive, being in nature might not always be grounding. You know what I mean? Like for me, sometimes being very sensitive to the energy and spirit of nature, it can be like a very kind of heightened, experience, like bringing me really up and into the higher, chakras of my body. So it's I think, first of all, getting a tangible sense of like what is being grounded for you. Because I think we talk about being grounded, but a lot of us don't know really what does that feel like for me, not what it feels like for someone else. What does my grounded look like? How does it feel in my body? How do my emotions and mind respond? And that's super important, because if you don't have a reference point for what feeling grounded is, how are you going to know that what you're doing is supportive to your experience?
True.
And what other people do is not necessarily going to work, for you. I will say one thing that I personally think is one of the greatest spiritual practices for grounding is just laughing. Laughing will ground you. It just does.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, you can sit around and walk on the earth with your bare feet and eat root vegetables. But if you laugh really hard for a while, you're here. I mean, laughing calls you into presence instantly. You can't be anywhere laughing. You're just here. And it's, to me, it's like my number one grounding tool, because I am sensitive, and being, on the earth doesn't always ground me. Sometimes it just like even deepens that kind of psychedelic realm for me. And even eating like heavier foods doesn't always ground me, but laughing, I sit down, like my partner and I, like we love watching like stand-up together.
Oh, God,
it's comedy.
But he's so funny too. Brandon is so funny
yeah
too.
Oh yeah. And he's introduced that to me, like just stand up in general. That's never something I watched or cared about. And it's, to me, I'm realizing that like a big part of me grounding into my humanness is also detaching from all of these practices that are quote unquote spiritual. Do you know what I mean? Like, I need to be doing this to be spiritual. And first of all, there's no such thing as spiritual. Like, it doesn't exist. Everything is a manifestation of spirit. So nothing can be more spiritual than something else, And I think I use attachment to like doing the spiritual things and the spiritual practices. And that very attachment is what kept me up here in the top and like out of my body. Because I actually wasn't interested in grounding. Because I wasn't interested in being a human and having a mundane life, It had to be really out there. And the biggest shift for me has been like, I want to be here. I want to be human. I want to do, honestly, everyday things, washing dishes, like being a human, making dinner. That's what grounds me more than ever, not some like technology or practice, like just being here and choosing to be present in it and find joy in it.
I hear you. I think maybe that's why I also chose to have you on here, because we always laugh together. So it grounds me a lot. Tell me something you think is true that almost nobody agrees with you on.
Ooh. That is so good.
I know, I had to have it.
Ooh, okay. So what comes up, I just start thinking of like, what are my most like controversial beliefs?
Mm-hmm.
I don't believe in morality, like morals. I don't think that's real. I mean, it's real in the sense that we've created it collectively, but the attachment to this idea that there's a good way to be or a right way to be and a wrong way to be, it's not a thing, you know? And what's interesting is like we say in the spiritual community, like there's no such thing as good or bad, you know, that's just polarity. But then 2 minutes later, we're talking about like, this is so bad. This is so, you know, like, and we get so attached to, you know, just seeing like, for example, all of these like really intense commentaries on AI art. You know what I mean? And I don't care about AI. It's like doesn't do anything for me. I'm not a technology person, you know. But what I find so interesting is how we can talk about, you know, nothing being wrong and it's all just the illusion of polarity, but then 2 minutes later we're all convinced that AI is the downfall of humanity and has some kind of inherent evil to it, which is so interesting because in my mind everything is a neutral mechanism that we, you know, yes, it can become very disharmonious. There are so many things that can be so, you know, can create disharmony and can create imbalance within people, of course, you know, and AI can certainly do that. But the fact that it might have some kind of inherent evil, there's nothing there in my mind. You know what
Yeah.
I mean?
Yeah, that's so true. Yeah, but I like that what you're saying about what is, the moral stuff and what is wrong and what is right. We actually don't know. It's like blurry for every person. It's different, and I think we should open up for it a little bit more so we can start being a little more creative, and also open up for that space when it comes to our children, so they don't grow up in a rule set that probably fits you, but not that new being that just came into the world. I don't know. Now I went completely the other direction and went away from the AI, but but
Well, the AI is just the most recent example that
I
I've
know
been
I saw
noticing
that and I was like,
coming up in the field. And
yeah,
it's not that I disagree with a lot of the, like, I think a lot of what people are speaking to when they see the places that this might lead us, I think
yeah,
those might be perfectly true. Yes, it can take us down certain timelines, but the fact that that technology itself is inherently wrong is simply not true, right? Nothing is inherently wrong, just like nothing is inherently right, you know. And I think we're so attached to morality because we're afraid that if we didn't have it, we might like murder each other, you
well,
know.
we do. And
Well, we do anyway. But so I think what's important to also say is it's not that it's not that I'm saying let's forget about morality. I'm saying let's replace morality with humanity.
I
Because
like
if
that.
humanity is truly present, humanity says, like, I am you and you are me. We are each other. We are part of one another. And if humanity is truly integrated in an individual, how can they harm another?
Yeah,
Whereas morality doesn't, all morality does is tell you what's not allowed.
I
Do you know
hate
what I mean?
that.
But if you don't have a problem, if you have a problem with breaking rules, you know, if you don't care about breaking the moral rules, then you do whatever you want anyway. You know what I mean? So it actually doesn't teach us to care about each other. It doesn't teach us to recognize the truth of one another. So all you have is people behaving well, but not meaning it, not feeling it, you know?
True. I love that. That is such a good. I love that sharing. I think that is it needs to be spoken out loud because and yeah, again, who says that something is right? The same thing for you and me is like what's supposed to be right cannot. Oh no, I don't even know how to explain it because it's what feels true to me doesn't have to feel true to you, you know.
Yeah, there's no right way.
No, I think we should start being more quirky like nature, you know. There's no right
Yeah,
way out there too. It's like
no.
we have a little forest over here on our land, and there's no morals in there. It's messy. And everybody's just trying to get to the light somehow. It's just like you just want air and light and good earth. I don't know if that, yeah. Anyways, I went off a little bit
Yeah.
there. But okay, another weird question. What would you hope the world looks like in 10 years?
I hope that in 10 years, there's a lot more nature, you know, that maybe a lot of these structures that are, whether it's institutions or certain organizations that are, creating a pretty, imbalanced earth, destroying a lot of earth and polluting the water and, cutting down the Amazon. I hope that there's at least, I mean, in 10 years, I don't think there'll be a lot of regrowth as far as Earth is concerned. She takes her time, but I would like to see a shift in the structure of things that allows for that to begin, allows for a kind of regrowth.
Yeah.
And a pulling back maybe of some of these structures and institutions that are causing harm. But that also means essentially a fundamental shift in the collective. Right. And hopefully being less fearful about the kind of apocalyptic ending of Earth and being more in love with Earth. Because all I see when I look at the movement of, save the planet and go green, all I see is fear.
Yeah.
I don't see any truth in that. It's like, change your actions now or we die.
Yeah.
And like, it's possible for humans to definitely create an environment that kills us, but the Earth is fine. Like,
Mother Earth is fucking rocking it. She will just, like, in the end of this, if we die, she's like, fuck it. Because I saw it here on our land, because the land has been empty for 3 years. And those trees, the weed, the flowers, everything was just thriving when we came in here. It was like a botanical garden grown of its own, all the small trees was just taking over everything. I think if 5 more years, the house would have been overgrown. It's like, she doesn't give a shit. She will survive. And I have another example of that. Actually, there was a farmland behind my dad's house, and he got sick when I was 13 or something, and he stopped then using the land and just let it be, and now it's a full-grown forest. It's by itself that he didn't do anything, and my dad is like, he's ruined my view, but he loves it. But it's like, it's the full-grown forest now, because the animals are pooping seeds and stuff, and all the good stuff. Yeah, that's true.
Absolutely. I mean, what if we just acted from a place of love? I take care of the Earth because I love the Earth, not because I'm afraid of dying. What a motivation. That motivation will never shift the collective. It will never save the planet or us. It just won't,
No, and we're gonna die. That is something like, that is the only thing we can be sure of. So I would love what you're saying. Why are we not acting from love? And it has a different vibration, even that word saying loving Earth. If I act from that point of view, instead of, I don't want to die, but you're going to die.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
Like, that's the
Fear
end
is
of it.
It's not a motivation.
No, because it's not. It's like, it's also a goal that can't be achieved if you're gonna die anyway.
Yeah.
It's like, why not just give so much love back to nature? And that's the adventure here. So also why we moved here is because the nature department of the government bought up 3 properties here to buy off the land to plant a forest. So we're gonna have a big forest in a few years out here. That's why we also moved here, actually, because I love that concept as well, that they are trying to grow more trees in Denmark now, because we kind of took them all down before social media. Yeah, could you imagine if that was social media 100 years ago? Oh no, and it's not even so. Most of the trees here in Denmark is cut down because they needed to burn the stones for the churches.
Yeah, churches are of the highest priority.
Yeah, exactly. And just think about how that would have sounded like now in the media if we actually, oh, I'm gonna build a church and I'm gonna burn down 4 acres.
What if we just let our trees be our churches?
I
Then we
love that.
wouldn't have to.
Exactly. I want to be an apple tree when I die.
Mm.
That's my wish. Okay, we're almost coming to an end here before we so yeah. Where can people find you? Because you are doing beautiful work. Did you create a website yet? And you're having some sound healing stuff coming up in the new year, or is it now? I don't remember.
I'm launching a new course in January, on the 14th. It is actually, it is called Earth Oracle, and it is the kind of combination of my work with sound and intuitive channeling, as well as the work that I do with Earth, and like being in right relationship to Earth, and communing with Gaia as a consciousness. So it's actually the first kind of offering I've created that really truly kind of encompasses that, my love for nature and my work with nature, as well as my vocal work, because everything up until now has been more just vocal, focusing on the vocal, the channeling, and the sound activation. So this is the first thing. I'm so excited about it. It's the first kind of offering that's truly integrated the work and the love, that I have with Earth. So that's going to be a 3-week course.
Yeah.
It's going to be a 2-week course, and we're going to have 3 Zoom calls, and there's going to be materials, and so I have a website. It's called kumicodes.com, QUMI codes.com.
I will link it.
And then you'll link it. And then I have YouTube where I share little Earth transmissions and little songs. Oh yeah. This is just me not displaying my my inner world with people. I
will
keep
find
meeting
you.
people that I have a YouTube. I have a YouTube. It's actually on if you go to my website, it's on the main page. There's a link to it. I share transmissions, work mostly like light language, kind of intuitive sound stuff. And then I have an Instagram, which is my name, Talitha Fairy.
You're rocking it, sister.
That's
and what do they get out of joining? Like when you is it mostly just for women, or is it also for other people? How is like all people? And what is the transition? Why do I join? How does I'm talking about the course, your course.
So this course is really focused towards people who have, already feel a call to work really deeply with Earth. And so the term that I use, the course is called Earth Oracle, and the term that I use is the path of the oracular Earth Keeper. So individuals who know that they have a big part of their path here is to work with Earth, and that might look all sorts of ways, and the idea here is also that, there's not one way to do this work. There's not one way to be an advocate for Earth, or an Earth Keeper, or an Earth Steward. And actually, like, you have your own path within it. You have your own soul path within it. And so a big part of it is deepening into that authentic connection that you have with Earth, and the path that your soul has chosen to do that work in support of Earth, and to just unearth that for yourself, and so and then the other big element is the vocal aspect, right, which is the term oracular Earth Keeper. The Earth Keeper, the oracle is, oracle literally means to speak or to pray. It's offering yourself as a channel, as a vessel for this spirit, and allowing that to be the medium through which you do this work, or at least the medium through which you do part of the work, or maybe it's a tool, whatever it is. opening the channel, the self, the voice to her spirit, and really coming into communion. Because I think a lot of the work that we do with earth, like when we look at like political movements, it's very separate. It's like, I am this individual over here, and I'm going to make a change, and I'm going to advocate for this thing over here, but there's no union. And so this is really about coming into total union with earth. So you're not doing anything for her, because you are her. And then working really deeply with the feminine principle. So it's all done through the lens of the feminine, and reprogramming a lot of these patriarchal structures that are like deeply embedded into us, and just coming back into, what does it mean to be in right relationship to my nature within, and to nature around me and earth, and how can I like explore all of that through the voice. So the voice is the space that we kind of journey through all of these.
That sounds amazing. I don't know why I needed to go too close to the mic, because I was just like, oh my God, I want to join, because it's something I deeply also care for, because it's something also I want to do something not similar, because it's not going to be with the voice, but just about like the women's circle and everything like that. I want to integrate that and teach women about this, but together with earth, like how are we actually really connected with the female cycle and the earth cycle. And so that sounds so amazing, Talitha. Wow. I will link to that down below as well. So my last question is, what was your favorite part about this podcast?
Ooh,
so much.
Honestly, I feel like I have been so engaged from the moment I tuned in. I just think, I really love like getting into these themes around, around like femininity and what that even is. You know what I mean? Whether it's through the voice and, the birthing process, or just like stepping into not just more power, but like actually what is an authentic expression of true feminine essence. And I feel like since, we've always had these conversations, we keep coming back to this, like really wanting to continue to unearth what that even means, because we have so many ideas in a culture of what it is to be feminine, and a lot of it is just it's a hijacking. It's like a patriarchal hijacking of femininity. And we're told this is what feminine power looks like, and it's just not it. So I just feel like we're always coming back to this, and we're always looking at it through a different lens, whether it's voice, yoni, womb, earth, like keep coming back to that. And I just love that, because it's a big theme for me right now, is just really deepening into what that even is, and feeling that physically in my body, it has a big implication. It's more than just an emotional, mental kind of exploration. It's really taking place physically in my hormones, in my womb, in my yoni.
I feel absolutely the same way. It's been such a big topic for me as well the last couple of years, actually. What does it mean? And also, if you then study history and again the church and all that stuff, like how suppressed we have been in culture, and women only got to vote 100 years ago, and what does it mean now to be feminine? Because the way we are displayed now, it's like boobs and asses, right? And looking good and sexy, but is that really feminine? So I was just, when you were saying that, because when I tuned into this podcast today, I knew that we would go down this road as well. But I think we should do one more podcast on that, only that. But I wanted to choose. Oh my God, this was magical. And now we can be it's weird, because we just getting sucked into it. I felt it really ran smoothly and nicely, and it was good. I didn't even recognize we were actually sitting here for almost 2 hours.
Well, I think a lot of the conversation to begin with was just us like chatting as well. Do you know what I mean?
But I gonna keep that in.
Podcasts are long. Podcasts are like an hour. you know?
Exactly. And I feel
Ow.
like we have so much cool aspect of it, but I feel like the beginning needs to be there as well, because it was just
Totally.
it was all about the goats and stuff, and I can't keep that out of the conversation. It's so important. Okay, I hope we
Yeah.
yeah, no, I loved it. I thank you so much. It was just amazing.
I felt like it just, again, a conversation, like a theme, just naturally kind of arose. And it was like wherever else we went, we kind of came back
Yeah,
to the theme, which is really nice. Like there was a really clear feeling about it, you know?
good. I'm glad. I'm glad to hear that, because it was because like I said, I didn't have a completely clear vision of it. I knew I wanted it to be you, to be the first, and I saw such a big development in you since we met the first time. So I felt like I just wanted to also hear where you're at and the whole new journey with the online stuff you're doing. And yeah, you're so different in a good way, but you still kept your weirdness, which I like.
Never lose that.
Never lose the
Take-
weirdness. Oh my. But are you interested in doing another podcast next year?
Absolutely. And I love really intentionally focusing on that feminine concept, what that even means. It's also, I mean, it's been like the biggest theme for me in the past few months, like just realizing, like first it was just realizing that my hormones were like, because I was moving and I felt ungrounded, my hormones started like getting imbalanced. And so it first started that, but then that takes me to my womb, and then that takes me to my digestion, and that takes me to it was just like everything kept leading me into, there's like a deeper essence of femininity that is not fully online. And I think collectively it's not fully online because we've repressed it so much. Like I just see everywhere also around me people talking about it and beginning to understand more and more like what it actually is. And a lot of stories that we used to have of what it is to be feminine we're like letting go of. And it's just, I feel like it's so important right now to like explore, because we also have a lot of mainstream conversation that's not conducive at all, that's going the other way, you know?
True.
So
no, I think definitely that's a big topic to be explored, and that's where my focus is completely. I think it's so interesting. All the stuff that's coming up now, I didn't know, and why don't we know? And yeah, and even it's not not what is also the feminine in relation to the masculine when you are having a partner, and breaking free from what you think you should be in a relationship compared to what is like that whole thing. That's like a totally,
oh man, that's been huge for me in the past few months. Like in a way it's never been, like realizing like with Brendan, like there's this whole dynamic of us and his masculine and my feminine, and I realized recently like I've not been honoring it, and I've been like sabotaging it because I was so caught up in what I was supposed to be as this like modern independent woman. And like it started creating problems, and then I noticed it and I shifted myself, and like instantly everything has like changed, and I'm like, oh shit, like that's a real thing, that masculine and feminine, you know.
yeah, but
and
how does it look like, right? How can we articulate that? How can we bring it into words so people can understand it? Because I feel also, yes, I've been also too independent, and like, I'm gonna, I'm an independent woman, I'm gonna do this all on my own. But he also he wants and that sounds so weird, but because it's not accepted, but he wants to hold me. He wants to also be the space holder of the feminine, right? But how? Yeah. Anyways, this is gonna be 2 hours later. Okay. I'm gonna write it down. So the female, what does it mean? And then also in contrast to the something masculine. Yeah. So please just find some questions as well if you want to, and then I think let's set up in the new year. I think it's better. This will not come out yet. Also, I want to have a few episodes before I'm releasing it all. So let's set a point in the next year.
Totally.
Let's talk
I'm
about
excited.
vagina a little bit more.
Yeah, we didn't talk about vaginas enough. I almost fell backwards.
The JJ. Poo-tang. Okay.
Poo-tang. The Poo-tang podcast.
See, now it's getting. I actually wanted to. Oh yeah, the Smegina podcast was also on my mind. One. I think I told you about that one. The Smegina podcast.
Vagina?
Smegina. I think it comes. I think it's from Sex and the City, and I think Samantha saying Smegina, and then I thought the Smegina podcast but yeah, it landed Uncomfortably Honest because I thought that covers a little bit bigger.
I think that's also a title that when you like read it, you're like, ooh, uncomfortably honest. Like that's something, you know what I mean? Like it really clarifies, like people want that, people want to hear also things that other people don't want to talk about.
Exactly.
We all have like thoughts that we're like, oh, can I ask this? Can I say this? You know what I mean?
Yeah. I want to go deeper in with some better questions. I want to have like some proper, like the 5 last questions that really goes deep into something, just to make it uncomfortable. I want people to cry.
Shiver.
I just want them to cry and be on the floor. No. Okay, I have to go because I was supposed to make dinner.
All right, it's late by you.
Yeah, it's like 6 o'clock. And that's why when you said I can be up early at 8 and then I calculated, oh, so it's 4 here, and then it's already dark anyway. It's fucking...
Yeah, no, there's no way to really... No, also I'm so far west now that like the time is different. So like if I was in Florida, it would be 2 hours. We would have to be 2 hours closer. You know what I mean? If I was on the East Coast, but we're pretty far out here.
But I think the light, I got some good light, so. And I have green.
It looks great. I'm like very impressed by like you have a good camera. It seems like you have a perfect. You're matching with the background. It's like it's very good. I just have this purple wall behind me that I don't like.
I like it. It's you look very earthy with your brown eyes and your wool sweater, and then you have like the slight purple behind you. It's really earthy. I'm like more like.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm more.
No,
like,
this is like peak aesthetic. This is very professional.
Thank you.
I think
I even brought in this flower. Maybe I should have a little bit. I like this flower plant.
Oh, the Monstera, yeah, that's a good one. I love those.
Yeah, she's hardcore. She's a good one.
They are.
Okay, I have to go, and also I forgot. Right. I need to put the chickens in as well. So we have.
Are you killing?
What?
Are you killing your own chickens?
If I'm gonna kill them?
Yeah. Have you been killing them?
No, not yet. We will.
But you're going to. I can imagine Jens wants to kill some chickens, right?
Yeah.
You like into that?
Yeah, he's gonna go to the neighbors and kill a duck before Christmas. Yeah, but he wants to kill them, but it's such a that's why we have them for eggs, and then sometimes we poop in the garden so it fertilizes, but we also want to eat once in a while a chicken. But you're having a relationship with those dudes. They all have names now because Nikki can't control herself.
Yeah, that's a tough one. I think I don't think you're gonna be killing any chickens.
I would eat it with a better conscience because I think it's so much more natural to eat that chicken. But oh my god, they're so cute. They're so cute. But the thing is, they don't really understand what the entrance to the chicken house is. Sometimes they are underneath because I made it kind of cozy underneath as well. So I have to see if they are. I have to put them manually into the chicken house now. Because I don't want the fox to get them because they're so cute. You have to follow us on Instagram.
I do.
Oh. Scobo.
Oh. Did you make a separate one for the farm? Oh, maybe I don't.
I will send it to you because you're gonna love the pigs.
Oh, no, I don't follow you because I haven't seen the pigs.
They're so cute.
You had pigs. Oh yeah, please do.
We're gonna have pig babies in March. They did it.
Are you gonna eat those?
What?
Are you gonna eat those? Are you gonna eat the piggies?
ask me. It's so hard. I'm not vegan anymore, but I
I'm not
wouldn't be.
either. I eat now.
Oh, you do? Wait, yeah, I was just. Oh, yeah. I was
Just
just
like a month ago.
wondering. What?
I just started eating meat like a few weeks ago.
Oh, how does it feel like?
Great. I thought I wouldn't be able to digest it because I went so long. I thought I don't have enzymes. I'm gonna be sick. Feel great.
Yeah.
I love it. For me, it wasn't a health thing, like because I was a very healthy vegan. I had good blood tests. I wasn't lacking anything. It was like this nervous system grounding thing. I just suddenly realized that in order to like really ground in my nervous system, I needed meat, and it totally grounded me.
Yeah.
So that's been like the whole journey too, is just like starting to eat meat again, and like my ego around that.
Yeah, it's a bit. Oh God, another podcast, but that is
Man,
so
we have to
big.
like get out of here because
That is so big because I actually also have a friend. She's hardcore freaking vegan, you know. It's like, oh my God. But her nervous system is also all over the place. And finally she signed up to a program where she is now eating eggs and beans and stuff like that to ground herself, because as a vegan she was eating too much, you know, bananas and dates.
always up here. And
And
this
it's
like
not
light.
yeah. And if you're a tiny body like you, the frame
Mhm.
she has like similar frame as you, it's just like makes you vibrate like a
Yeah.
whole new level of singing. Yeah. And it's because sometimes it's like, oh my God, I just want to slap her with a piece of meat. Just gotta ground yourself, darling.
Totally. Whoa. Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't do it though. And I didn't dare to tell her also, because it's like, you don't want to mess with vegans.
No. People in general are like really attached to their diet. Like whether it's meat eaters or vegans, like they're just like, this is the right way. It's the only way. You know what I mean? You can't suggest anything else. It's morals.
It's yeah, I was just gonna say this, and because for me it's became clear that depending on where you live in the world as well, you really need to look at what was the diet there, because that's where your ancestors are coming from, and what do we do? Like, I feel it's such a mind, it's just fucked that we are, if you're vegan and you live in Denmark and then you import avocados from the other end of the world, right? Because what are we actually eating here? What is like the whole the fish kind of thing, and all the stuff you can eat in Denmark. But there was a guy saying that, because he was in an argue with a vegan, and he's saying like, you're just full of bullshit, then you just import all the stuff from all the other side of the world where it's not treated well, and the animals are not treated as well down there, because they don't have the environment anymore. And you call me effectless because I eat the beef that goes out on the, it's like,
and we vegans are buying all these vegetables and fruits, and what are they grown in? Monocultures.
Yeah.
Which destroy the soil.
Yeah.
There's no way out of it. Like, you don't get to be on higher ground. It doesn't matter what unless you're totally self-sustaining and everything you eat, you are growing, you are slaughtering, whatever. Like, no one gets to be on higher ground. No one gets to be like superior and morally like,
no,
it doesn't, can't.
No, not nowadays. And also it's just there's just too much suffering in the other end of the world because of avocados, cashew nuts, coconut oil, but we don't see it. It's not in our vision, and so we believe that we're doing something well, right? And it's now that's a whole nother topic. I'm gonna write that down.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's gonna slap face. That is like, because that is uncomfortable.
Yeah. No, it definitely is. Especially like veganism is so big in obviously the spiritual community, and there's a morality around it. Like, I'm pure because I had it. Like, I had it for sure. And I didn't put it on other people. I was never a vegan who judged people for eating meat, but I would never eat it myself,
Yeah.
And now I'm just kind of like, all of these stories are just falling away,
Me and Jens were completely idiots about it.
Yeah.
Like when
Wait,
we
was also
we used to be, for 4 years we were vegan, yeah.
okay.
And we stopped because of health, because we were lacking something. And we
Okay.
were not all we were not unhealthy vegans at all. We were like proper stuff, like vegetables and cooking everything from the ground up. But yeah, but the way we preach to his family and our family is like,
It's funny, right? And there can be so much embarrassment around, like, I don't know, people are gonna know that I don't do this anymore, you know? But
yeah,
I mean, fortunately, I was never like an evangelist about it. But also, I think bodies are just different. I think some bodies can be really happy and healthy with no
yeah,
meat, and I think some bodies just need it. Like Brendan needs it. When he came back from his dieta, he was there 40 days on a dieta. He came back with really bad parasites, and he stayed sick until he started eating steak. Instantly better.
yeah.
My dad, on the other hand, my dad recently went vegan, saved his life. I mean, he had heart conditions. He did all of the healthy eating, organic grass-fed beef, only vegetable. Like, he did all of it, and nothing helped. He went completely vegan, no sugar, no oil, no salt, no processed food. Literally only vegetables, fruits, and grains. Hardcore. Completely healed his heart, and he has zero inflammation. He's 70. He has no aches. He has no pains. He used to have, he had surgery on his knee. He had sciatica. He had aches and pains since he was 50. He's 70 years old. He goes to the chiropractor. The chiropractor adjusts him and says, like, I can't believe it. Your body is like a 20-year-old. You have zero inflammation. You have no resistance. And he has zero pain. He's 70. Never has pain.
Oh my God,
From
see?
veganism.
Yeah. So there is.
Age, an older man with heart conditions, that's a very particular body. That's right. So like that, meat creates inflammation, right? It can. Hot, heavy foods. So I think, for him with a health condition at that age as a man, perfect diet for him.
Yeah.
He's in incredible shape. But
and
not for me, 4-year-old who weighs 90 pounds. This doesn't work for me. I can't do it anymore. I'm not grounded.
No, and I think you're totally right there. And I also think the vegan food actually saved our ass, because we were not on a completely unhealthy diet, but we are also not on a healthy, it was more a Danish kind of diet back then. And then our doctor in Germany put us on the completely only vegetables also diet. And that also completely saved us. But I think after, there's a lot of a honeymoon phase to the vegan diet, because of course a lot of people getting healthier because there's so much shit you have to get rid of to actually eat vegan, proper vegan. Like, I mean, like vegetable vegans, like not Coca-Cola vegans. then I do think you should do that for a year or two. If you really have a fucked up diet, it will absolutely help you. And then you can introduce other stuff again, like meat and egg and maybe some sourdough or whatever. But oh yeah, Jens's sourdough. I so love it.
Oh,
yeah, but yeah. Okay, I put that on there. Okay, we have to stop talking, otherwise it's like. Okay, we'll see.
Have a wonderful chicken dinner. Have a wonderful chicken dinner, and we'll figure out a date for the next.
Okay, honey, I will go and look after my chickens. Love you. Thank you. We will set a new date then.
Yeah.
Peace.
Peace.